Rupert Murdoch's not showing Donald Trump love right now. Donald Trump's favorite newspaper, the New York Post, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, just came out with a scathing op-ed calling out Donald Trump for nominating RFK Jr. to lead the Health and Human Services Department, HHS, making RFK Jr. the head of HHS. Now, the New York Post previously endorsed Donald Trump strongly. You'll recall the New York Post endorsement was, "Choice is clear to put our nation on the right path, back to the future. The Post endorses Donald Trump." Surprise, surprise, Rupert Murdoch was endorsing Donald Trump. But in the most recent article, putting RFK Jr. in charge of health breaks the first rule of medicine, breaks the first rule of medicine. And here are some of the excerpts from the article. Quote, "When it came to the topic, his views were a head-scratching spaghetti of what can only be called warped conspiracy theories, and not just on vaccines. In fact, we came out thinking he's so nuts on all different types of fronts," the New York Post said. "A radical, prolonged, and confused transition ordered by a guy like RFK Jr. who will use his high office to spout his controversial beliefs leaves a lot of room for things to go wrong and for people to wind up harmed or even dead." In other words, Donald Trump appointed someone who may kill all of us. And the New York Post also writes, "We fear the worm that he claims ate some of his brain some years ago is contagious, and there's been an outbreak at Mar-a-Lago," also implying that Donald Trump has the brain worm. So the New York Post, Murdoch's newspaper, went from "the choice is clear" back to the future. They endorsed Donald Trump to about a week to 2 weeks later saying, "We fear that the worm that got to RFK Jr. has now led to an outbreak at Mar-a-Lago." I want to go through that New York Post article in a second, but remember all of the things that Donald Trump was saying about RFK Jr. as well before RFK Jr. struck the deal with Donald Trump. Donald Trump said, this was back in April 26, 2024, so not all that long ago, right? Donald Trump said, "I lived with RFK Jr. in New York and watched him convince Governor Cuomo to make certain environmental moves, wine. And then Trump goes, "I'd even take Biden over RFK Jr. because our country would last a year or two longer prior to collapse, but it would be dead either way. His views, RFK Jr.'s views on vaccines, are fake, as is everything else about his candidacy." So here, April 26, 2024, Donald Trump posted publicly that our country would be immediately dead if RFK Jr. was controlling anything. There's a lot more posts and videos of Donald Trump. I'm making it a corporate policy, at least in my videos. I'm not showing any Trump videos. I'm not letting you hear his voice. I don't want to hear his voice. I don't even want to look at his face, to be being completely blunt right now, so I'm just not playing his videos. But remember back on March 27th, 2024, at 1:52 a.m., Donald Trump posted, "RFK Jr. is the most radical left candidate in the race by far. He's a big fan of the Green New Scam and other economy-killing disasters." It goes on to say that he's an environmental fraud and that he may be indicted any day now. I love that he's running, he says. So again, he's calling him a communist. He could be indicted, an environmental fraud, that he's engaged in economy-killing disasters. Well, that's now who you have running Health and Human Services. Okay. Ronna McDaniel, said similar things. RFK Jr. cannot hide from his record of endorsing Hillary, supporting the Green New Deal, and fighting against the Keystone Pipeline. Here's a video that Donald Trump made. I said I'm not going to play a video of him, but he goes, "RFK Jr. is the most radical left candidate in the race by far." Trump in another video, again, I'm not going to play the video itself. I'm just going to tell you what he says because I don't want to hear his voice or see videos of him. He goes, "RFK Jr. is a Democrat plant, a radical left liberal who's been put in place in order to help crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, get reelected." Let's just take a look right now, if we can, at the article by New York Post right here. Let's pull it up. And so you can see, what the New York Post is saying here. A very, very, very coming out very strongly against RFK. Your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. So if you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA, and they use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. Using silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long. No matter the weather, get better sleeps. I do now thanks to Miracle Made sheets. They're luxuriously comfortable, and without the high price tag of other luxury brands, I think they are nicer than the sheets used by some five-star hotels. They're infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets, so no more gross odor. So stop sleeping on bacteria, which can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Just sleep clean with Miracle. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas and try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order them today, you can save 40%. And if you use our promo Meidas at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep now with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas, Meidas, and use the code Meidas to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Meidas to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. And here's what it says. Putting RFK Jr. in charge of health breaks the first rule of medicine by the Post editorial board. The overriding rule of medicine is first, do no harm. We're certain installing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to head the Health and Human Services breaks this rule. Maybe he's sworn to focus narrowly on areas where he clearly can help, inspiring Americans to embrace healthier diets and more exercise. But we sat down with RFK Jr. back in May 2023 when he was still challenging President Biden for the Democratic nomination. As we noted then, he's an independent thinker who's seen through a lot of bull, an incisive critic of some of Biden's policies, who saw that the Democrat Party lost its way most astutely in reaction to Donald Trump's first election. But the insights we were impressed with had nothing to do with health. When it came to that topic, his views were a head-scratching spaghetti of what we could only call warped conspiracy theories, and not just on vaccines. Neocons are responsible for America's policy ills. Pesticides, cell phones, ultrasound could be driving up upswing in Tourette syndrome and peanut allergies. It goes on to say, he told us with full conviction that all America's chronic health problems began in 1 year in the 1980s when a dozen bad things happened. Convincing to the gullible, conspiracy-hungry crowd on Twitter, but not the rest of us. In fact, we came out thinking that he's nuts on a lot of fronts. And even where he makes fair points as a critic, it's hard to see how he's the guy to lead the HHS and its staff of 83,000 to practical solutions. The relationship between big pharma and the feds is deeply dysfunctional, for example, but drug companies do a lot of good and employ a lot of people. Sending the industry or even just its stocks into a tailspin would be a disaster in its own right. By the way, that's what's happened already, tanking their stocks. His views also put him at odds with Trump's aim of supporting energy and farmers, as RFK wants to ban fracking and many pesticides and fertilizers. Look, the HHS chief oversees over 100 programs across 11 operating divisions. Keeping the trains running is a major job in its own right. A radical, prolonged, and confused transition ordered by a guy like RFK Jr., who will use his high office to spout his controversial beliefs, leaves a lot of room for things to go wrong and for people to wind up harmed or even dead. All of that, of course, if the Senate actually confirms RFK Jr., which will be a challenge in its own right. Republicans only have 3 votes to spare. Donald Trump won on a promise to fix the economy, the border, and soaring global disorder. His team needs to focus on delivering change on those fronts, not spend energy either having to defend crackpot theories or trying to control RFK Jr.'s mouth. We fear the worm that he claims ate some of his brain some years ago is contagious, and there's been an outbreak at Mar-a-Lago. Well, it's always existed at Mar-a-Lago, New York Post. That's the reality of the situation. By By the way, I can show you a number of other videos of Sean Hannity previously attacking RFK, Don Jr. attacking RFK, Trump spokesperson attacking RFK. Basically, I'll sum it up for you. I'll save us time. They all previously said before RFK endorsed Donald Trump, he's the worst guy, he's a radical, he's a criminal, he's a crook, he's going to get everybody killed, a horrible human being, worst person alive. And now they all say, he's great, it's the greatest, he's amazing, he's so good, everybody should love him. Yeah. Even Murdoch's not buying it. Murdoch's like, no, this guy can't be. HHS, what are you doing, Donald? You're killing your second term before it even starts. Not a shocker. Not a shocker at all. There you have it. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million together. Thank you for watching.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.